Hi, and welcome to the BSSS e-content. It's Piyush Pradhan from the Bhopal School of Social Sciences. Yet again, for my learners, I've come up with an extremely fantastic topic. This topic, I'm sure, is tailored to suit each one of you today. Let us just begin with the theme. We are going to learn documenting or document. This might sound, for some of us, very simple stuff because we are habitual of using the documents in our workplaces, especially if I talk about in our professional careers. Hundreds and thousands of times we need to make a document and submit it to our seniors or superiors. So, along with those people who are working at the workplaces, I've got this topic for the students of the institutions who might have difficulty in understanding the chapter of documenting or document necessarily. Let us just begin now. What is document or documenting? It's a written or printed paper that bears the original, official, or in legit form and access to provide information for having a further communication with stranger. What does document mainly do for each one of us? It helps to commence our academic career. It gives us the practical clues about our overall life's experiences, and it supports us to tackle any project which we can handle it or take over very confidently. Now, once we have learned what does the document do, we are going to see how exactly does it work. A document assists in giving evidence to serve the world in a form of an official record. Mind you that it is always used as an official record. A specific writing that takes place is called as document writing, or as you can see, called as documenting. Let's push along to the third slide. Most of us believe that when we take up this special first time theme, we have lots of difficulty as what exactly is the job of a document and why does it sound so difficult for most of us. Others are very sound with this work because they have to deal with documentation literally every day from dawn to dusk at the workplaces, at business places. We have individuals engaged in making and submitting documents. But those who sit at home and they do not have to submit this important criteria to any senior or superior, for that person it is extremely tough. So let's make out what exactly the document does for us, and is it truly difficult or not. Now, for most of us, as a human being, a blank page is like an enemy to us. What needs to be included and how it needs to be included actually confuses us. So what you need to understand is that the moment you start jotting down some words and structure in a simple plain sheet, you need to understand that your part of the text should truly justify the worth it consists of. Not only for you, but for the world to know. Thereby, anything that is fostered in a creative way is what is going to, in fact, intimidate the outside world, and the person will be able to make out and be able to understand what exactly you're trying to say. That part of the piece of work where you have used some text is further archived for immediate future. Now, documentation is essentially needed irrespective of which profession or career you belong from. There are 1,000 ways to approach a given subject, and I would say literally million ways to phrase that first sentence, but its actual result is in a form of overchoice, or in other words, I can say choice overload. Writing a coherent, linear use of text, a crafted middle section, and an appropriate end to the overall content is what successfully completes our picture for understanding of the document. Hope my learners have understood through this slide the part of the difficulties of documentation. Now, what can be done instead to understand documenting? There are certain steps to help craft out a perfect document. As you can see, there is planning, there is researching, indeed brainstorming, where you use your thoughts and ideas, and then of course outlining a document, which is extremely essential as it necessitates the way how something needs to be available for us for future references. Now, how to write a document? I have got at least 3 different steps. Let's begin with step number 1. Step 1 talks about how to plan your document. This involves the scope of the document. Now, in this, one has to advocate how familiar are my readers with the topic I'm about to discuss. This should be the first criteria, and you have to think this part in advance. Then comes the next question, extremely essential question. What are my readers' demographics? Now please concentrate on this section of the word demographics, which involves the age, as how old the person is, which language that person speaks, and at the same time, what is the level of education of that person. Got it? I hope my learners are taking real delight in understanding these things essential to write up a document. Now, further to make it more simple or easy for you to comprehend, I've got a fantastic sample example. Let's take 2 different sample examples of 2 different persons in different professions. First is indeed a computer programmer, and second is a school subject teacher. Now, for a computer programmer, computer language is extremely essential, and one who is technically sound may understand only the data, statistics, or any kind of logic and analysis based on the computer stuff. But that person might not be good at the language skills. So, a computer programmer will have to certainly take the help of his office colleagues so that there can be a similar level of expertise achieved, both by collecting the data and at the same time converting that data into a language or text form. Then we are pushing along to the next person's profession of a teacher. Now, when I talk about a teacher at the TGT level or at the PGT level, I find that it is very difficult for a teacher to teach a young child about the actual essence of documentation, because a child's brain is a juvenile brain, and an immature brain might not understand the nuts and bolts of how to actually include something in the form of documentation. So what a teacher can do is that she can involve a lot more details and explanations by teaching a student to include pictorial charts to make the students exposed to picture depictions, trying to use some other huge chunks of words of English language, etc. So that can be one of the acts the teacher can use to teach a student how to document a piece of work. Now, in this part of the slide, we are further talking about the different elements of this. First is indeed purpose. And when I say purpose, I truly mean reason. Second is a style and tone. You see, if it is a potential investor, your tone must be entirely different or diverse and must be without humor. Always remember that. Then comes the diction. Diction involves choice of words for us. And lastly, the most essential feature, the sentence length. This involves complexities. Now, as we have learned these 4 elements, we'll see that in what ways they are taken up. First, it can be formal or informal documentation. It could be personal or impersonal documentation. And lastly, it could be serious or humorous. Further, to talk about the feature of length and complexity of sentence, which I have specially taken out of these 4 elements, I should say that one has to learn to adapt to fit one's audience perfectly, because if it isn't clear and concise, it will in turn let audience go very angry with text. So please have a very heavy and high tolerance for lengthy sentences. You have to be extra careful with that. Now, a perfect live example of documentation. This I have chosen as a basic level documentation example so that no matter which profession you belong from, it would be easier to make your mind understand how it actually works. Step 2 is talking about the research and brainstorming. One can certainly use a text document to collect all kind of characteristics such as quotes, links, any kind of factual information, or talking about the references that you want to incorporate in that piece of page. So over here, we are looking at the live example of a document based on animal kingdom. As you can see, there are multiple animals which belong to animal kingdom. Sea or aquatic animals, African animals, mammals, bugs, reptiles, herbivorous, carnivorous, Arctic region animals, etc. So, when you have got the clarity of the content with you, you might have a $1 million question in your brain. How on earth am I supposed to deal with it? How should I give the initial start? Well, first of all, a person has to brainstorm or research the list of animals. We've got the list of animals with blue whales, Arctic foxes, polar bears, emperor penguins, cheetahs, lizards, chameleons, fishes, caterpillars, bees and spiders, etc. Once you have collected the list of animals, now you can push along to the second important piece of information for your documentation, which is to collect the fast facts about the animals that belong to animal kingdom. Now, under that, one can go with the single line sentence first, work on the vocabulary based on the habitat of each animal living in that part of the world's region. Then the person will immediately have to involve the appendixes or the figures in the form of graphs, any kind of video or audio representation, etc. Or you can take up some other underlying claims which are very, very essential. Lastly, we can take up the part of the summary. Summary deals with a kind of a short summary with 80 to 100 words to be exact. And when a person has to conclude the document in the 4th stage, that should include your piece of the documentation text or the stuff that you have to be compared with someone else so that some other stranger can proofread and even edit your part of the documentation. What you feel from your brain may not be the exact words which other feels it the same. There might be a yawning gap between others' intelligence of the use of words and structures than compared with your part of the grammatical errors. So you need to have that grammatical accuracies. Hope my audiences have truly justified the step 2 of research and brainstorming, including this beautiful example of animal kingdom and how it needs to be documented. Now, in step 3, we are going to learn to outline the structure. What is outlining? Outlining helps you to bifurcate the clear thought or idea you have about the thing you want to take up, which should match exactly with your profession. We can have different kind of documentation process, and accordingly a person has to justify which one to take up in hand immediately. For instance, the first is the academic form of documentation that involves thesis. It can be in the form of paper presentation, the use of documentation in the form of the journals. Then someone can take some essays, especially argumentative essays can be the best part of the documentation, or research proposals. The second part of the document can be the business documents. This might include contracts. It can be any report or the business plans taken up by a human being. Then it can be in a form of financial statements which needs to be archived and needs to be presented to our superiors in the future. Or it can be some user guides and project documentation kind of stuff. Now, with this portion of the outlining of the structure literally getting end, I would like to include for my audience the writing tools which you can easily access to or refer to. We have got Microsoft Word, Google Docs as the most famous documentation platform. We have got the other names of the websites as Dropbox, Paper, etc. Along with that writing tools, we have writing softwares like PenderDoc, White Smoke, Metcalf Flare. If these words are sounding very alien to you, so perhaps you might be essentially aware of the term Grammarly, where you can just write any kind of passage absolutely wrong but full of grammatical errors, and that Grammarly application is going to turn every line essentially become very positive and working out for you for your academic purposes, etc. Now, having done with all the major explanation of what the job of documenting is or how the document actually works, I have got some picture depiction understanding of the documentation for my learners. We are going to look in this slide the direct picture help with the help of sequencing of the writing. That is for the writers who are taking this documentation part at the beginning stage. We are looking at these pictures, and if you are involving certain individuals to work on this picture, you have to make them to order these 4 pictures and then tell them to make their own story. For instance, the first picture of this school-going child, he's trying to go for an excursion trip, for example, to a nearby zoo of his town. He immediately witnesses a tiger or a lion who is trying to roar when the boy is trying to talk to the lion or trying to understand the activities which is going on. Then in the third picture, there are certain monkeys monkeying around on the branches of the tree, and the child or the student is very happy to see those monkeys. And lastly, he witnesses some other animals such as this the seal, and it's already brought enough smile on the face of this child. So the moment that person is going to order the picture properly, then ideas automatically start coming. And so your brain immediately become very choreographed and synchronized as which picture to take, what features of that picture to take, and what should be the amount of text. Should it be very harsh? Should it be very medium? Or is it going to be extremely easy? So you need to justify accordingly how you're supposed to deal with that picture depiction task. Now, we have literally reached to the concluding part of our document theme. And this time I have created my own story out of a fantastic English movie called Finding Nemo. I know you all must be aware of that cute little golden fish and the different kind of characters involved in that picture, Finding Nemo, such as Nemo, the small golden fish, as a son, Dory, the blue fish, and Dory, who was mentally retarded blue fish, who was a good friend to Nemo's father. Now we're going to read out this entire short story picture for a while, and then we are going to make out how to understand and take up as a part and parcel of the documentation. Let us just begin. In the story Finding Nemo, there used to exist deep down in an ocean a family of small golden fishes and a colony of other fishes residing in a freshwater coral reef. When Nemo was born as a small fish, born as an offspring, he was taken special care by his parents due to all other eggs being eaten by predators, and luckily he was left alone hidden in the rock shell edge of the seabed, where he grew old into a tiny goldfish. The mother succumbed to death, unfortunately, due to ocean pollution, and only Nemo's father left to nurture the small egg until one day he gained the same respect his father have had among the other fish clans around the reef for hundreds of kilometers. To the tragic mourning of the father, once due to strong ocean current, Nemo couldn't resist the charm of current flowing in the east direction of the ocean, made him come instantly very near to an underground pipeline, causing Nemo to slip and be washed away for many kilometers. He was always warned by father never to go over and above the ocean edge, but to explore new worlds around the ocean, and he committed this catastrophic mistake and unfortunately paid the price for it. Therewith, father decided to go hunt for his son in ocean, and on his way to Sydney, Australia, he met a mentally retarded bluefish named Dory, who suffered with slow memory loss syndrome. But she accepted the ocean ordeal to help Nemo's father search for his son, and finally got back with his son. Meanwhile, the father's heroic story became each year's buzzword within the ocean scenario, when he claimed to have fooled 3 gigantic sharks and came out of the clutches of those sharks unharmed and unscratched. Now, having read this cute story, what are we going to see or witness as that should be included in the part of documentation? First of all, it should be the dominant tone to tell the story. Then you should have a tone of thoughts which should be distinctive in nature. Indeed, then your thinking voice should be similar to your speaking voice. Then you should learn to indicate clear thoughts in your documentation about the story. Your thoughts should be in the perfect alignment with your word choices or with the expressions that you use. But please remember, do not use words that lead to misleading or misinformation to the reader. It should always interest the reader. Thank you so much, my beloved learners, and I hope you're going to share your comments with us. I'll try to live up to your expectations in the next video as well. Goodbye to you and Godspeed.